Hey everyone, how's it going? I am iamxeracon and I am back once again. Today I want to talk about an interview that was done with the previous PlayStation CEO, Shawn Layden, and how he predicts that games will become more expensive for PlayStation. This isn't a new article, this came out last month, but I think that it's quite important for the future. And the reason why I'm even mentioning this is because I think this whole mentality and principle can apply to the entire industry and not just with Sony and PlayStation. So he was talking about how he predicts that games will exceed, or specifically PS5 games will exceed a $200 million budget. He says that game budgets double with each generation, and he says that, the PS5 is in danger of exceeding $200 million. He also states that sequels are a big thing, and that's what, happens with things that are popular. They just get sequelized. I mean, we've seen this constantly again and again. And as it's also stated in the article, with Call of Duty and Madden, those games definitely fall into that category of being just copy-paste sequels that just continue to persevere. What I find interesting, though, is that it says that Layden was one of the people at the helm while this trend was growing, though Layden isn't forthcoming in claiming responsibility, and that he's instead trying to fix the problem and be part of a cure. But here's my thing. And this is what I think applies to each and every company, but you know what? I think this can definitely apply to with Sony is what do you have that isn't essential? What are you doing in these games that you can just cut? Is it a part of the advertising and marketing? Like, are you doing some crazy stuff that you really don't need that you can just cut that out? Are you hiring big budget Hollywood actors? Like, that's probably costing you a lot of money right there. Like, you're hiring all of these big name actors and you're getting them to provide the voices, do the image sort of transfer thing. I forget what the name for that is, but are you getting them to do that for your games? Like, are you doing that? Like, are you getting like your Norman Reedus and all the other people? Are you getting like the what's his name for the Fallout 6, like the guy from Breaking Bad? Are you getting all these Hollywood actors like that? Like I said, is probably where you're spending a lot of the money. Another thing also is that you don't need to make these games continuously look like they're realistic. Like, you make every game look like it's supposed to be some sort of real to life cinematic masterpiece. Like, you're trying to copy what you'd see in a blockbuster film. You don't need that. And don't get me wrong, if a game is looking worse than it was the previous generation, then yeah, that's a problem, obviously, because there's no reason why a game should look worse. But if you can at least just be on par, that's good enough. And obviously there are people who are going to disagree with me with this and say that games should look better. And if they're going to say, like, what's the point of getting a new system if the games aren't going to look better? And sure, I can agree with that to an extent, but do you need, like, every game to be just big, blockbuster, cinematic masterpiece? Like, you talk about how you've got your God of War and you've got your Spider-Man and you've got your Ratchet and Clank Pixar film. Like, do you really just need all of that? Can't you have something that's simpler, that's more refined? Like, I am amazed sometimes at how I see indie devs, how good they can make a game and make it look bigger than it is. Like, seriously, if you look at Hellpoint, if you look at Mortal Shell, those games, they're indie games, but they look pretty darn good. And this doesn't necessarily apply to every game, because not every game should look like this, but what about style? What about having stylized graphics and aesthetics? If you have something that's stylized, it's going to look a whole lot better and age better than a game that's aiming for realism. If you take a game from the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, if you take a game that's stylized, that has its own special aesthetics, and you compare that to a game that's aiming for realism, that's going to look a whole lot better and age better than those games, because they have their own unique personality. Sure, it's not realistic, it's not going to look like it's real life, but it still looks nice. Elden Ring isn't going to be pushing the limits of what a game will look like as a next-gen title. However, it still looks good, and the mechanics are going to be what refine it. The mechanics are going to be what sets it apart, what improves what's been done before, and that's something that is probably missing from a lot of these AAA games. No, it is what's missing from these AAA games. Every year there's a $60 Madden game. Every year there's a $60 baseball game, FIFA, any of these games. It's just annually getting pushed out again and again and again. Nothing's new. Nothing's great. It's the same game, different roster. Every year, again and again, we've got Call of Duty getting pushed out, and people are eating it up. If you actually took time to think about what can we do that can change the way the game works. I mean, Shawn Layden said that variety was pretty much dry, that it was drying up. However, I would disagree. I would say that there is still variety to be had. That's the reason why indie games are doing so well and why they're becoming so popular, is because they're doing something that's different. They're pushing the envelope. They're making these changes. They're doing something unique, and that is what makes them special. And you might also say that the companies don't want to make these risks, but why not? Why not? Risks used to be a part of the big gaming industry. That's what we had in the conception early years. That's what we had going up through like the 80s and 90s. That's what we had going up in the 2000s, or at least the mid 2000s era. But that's what we had, and it worked. It was great. Nowadays, everything is pretty much the same thing, or pretty much the same thing. If you're going to be spending all this money on something, at least make it unique. Don't make it the same thing that we've already seen before. Don't make it just another sequel. Make it better. But that's all I've got to say. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this video, and I will see you all next time. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So until then, I am iamxeracon signing off. Have a good one.